Hey, as most of you know me, I try to keep my politics to a minimum when I look at Facebook posts, things like that. We get enough of that. But I needed to share with you something that came out and hit me today. As many of you know, I spent 25 years as a land surveyor and specializing in land development. And so, I used to say that every time a regulation came out, we just hit the bottom line for every purchaser by about 10 grand. Well, now that I've been doing mortgages for a while, I get to see it all the time. I get to see it in how regulation impacts people's ability to buy, and then what impact that has on us as an overall society. Our homelessness, my work with Housing Hope also kind of puts this all in the limelight for me. So when I get things like this, it just, my blood goes up and my temperature goes up, and I just I get caught up in the I just get pissed, and so I wanted to share this with you. Many of you will have a dog in this fight. Many of you won't care. Many of you won't know that it really matters, right? But I want to share this with you so that you get a feeling for what happens behind the curtain. And I'm not picking on one party or the other, because this agency it's a government entity that is not accountable. This is called the Department of Ecology. Feel free to do your research on who they account to, who they're responsible to. But in essence, they write regulations that impact you and I on a daily basis. Yet there's no public scrutiny. There's nothing that goes into how they do their business as a government entity. It's just they're actually probably more powerful than WSDOT. The State Department of Transportation gets fined by this agency. Every government agency can be fined by this Department of Ecology, as well as every private developer out there. And this right here, this interpretation, this new rule that's just been passed out, Snohomish County just put this into play on Friday the 23rd. So just real quick, what this is the new guidelines on stormwater management and preparation of site plans for stormwater management. Why is this important to you? Well, if you've never submitted for a building permit, if you have no intention of submitting for a building permit, the impact to you, the direct impact to you, is probably minimal. This is just going to play out in our economy locally here in this state. But if you are intending to put out and decide to want to get a shop on your property, you own 5 acres out there, and you want to put a shop on and put a driveway to it, this hits you. And what this is they have changed the Department of Ecology Stormwater Management Manual. 2015 and Snohomish, the 2015 manual, and Snohomish County has now adopted the manual in its entirety, and starting on Friday, it's now being implemented. So let me just run a couple things by you. If you want to build a garage on your property, and you're going to impact over 2,000 square feet on your site, meaning driveway, footprint of the garage, any kind of impact on your current site, you're going to impact over 2,000 square feet. Now, it used to be that you could do your sketch, your engineer would have to do some plans, do some other things. It didn't go to the level that this is talking about. And I'll just run a couple things by you. Under the new guideline, a boundary survey of the site prepared by a registered land surveyor that shows the following. Okay? Right there and then, you've just taken a licensed individual and you put them on notice that they need to meet these requirements to meet their professional standing. So, what's that mean to you? Well, now you got to hire a surveyor before you go to the next step. You already had to have the engineer, which was a step up in the DOE's requirements over the last few years for a 2,000 square foot threshold. But now I'm hiring a surveyor. And what's that surveyor going to do? Well, he's got to prepare a complete boundary, not necessarily setting the corners and doing a record of survey, but a good professional is going to go to the level of doing that work so that he's ready to set those corners and do a record of survey, or she. Okay. Location is square footage of existing public or private development, hard surface setbacks, boundary lines, and any new existing or proposed structures. What that means is a complete topographic survey. Okay? Elevations of the building site and structure at a contour interval consistent with the design requirements of the site. If you have a flat site, high intensity topographic work. If you have a site with slope, instead of maybe doing a 25-foot grid, you can do a 50-foot grid. And God forbid you have blackberries, trees, salmonberries, native growth areas, environmentally protected areas. Now we're hiring wetland biologists, which you more than likely would have to do prior to this anyway, but now we're taking it to another level of making sure that those things are all located by survey, mapped by survey, so all of a sudden everything is just dialed in to the gnat's butt. The setbacks to the property line for any proposed grading activity, setbacks from a property line or structure, and separation to any well. Wellhead protection area, on-site sewage system, or other utility, or separations to any critical area other than aquifer recharge areas or frequently flooded areas. So again, now I not only need to worry about your property, I need to know if your neighbor has a well within 200 feet of your property boundary, because now I have to go locate that to make sure that we're not going to impact something that he's got going on his property. Great common sense, but again, now this has got to be survey located. You can't just go pick up a copy of the as-built at Snohomish County and turn that in with your application. Now it's actually got to be surveyed. Let me ask you this. If I said you live next door to a 5-acre piece, and given the likelihood of neighbors being neighbors, I go to ask you, is it going to be okay with your neighbor if we go on their property to locate their well and locate their wetlands? Is that going to fly? Just asking the question. Neighbors are great. Some of them are wonderful. Others are like, no, and not only no, but hell no. And if your surveyors come on my site, they're trespassing. So, location of any easements of record that encumber the property and that would affect site development. Okay, so now again, we're taking another level. Where's your title report? Because we need to ensure that there are no easements of record that are going to have impact. They don't talk about prescriptive easements, but what happens now all of a sudden, we're going to open up that door to, do we have an adverse possession issue? Do we have a prescriptive easement issue? What's going to happen with that? So these are just some of the small things. And then we talk about 200 feet on either side of your property for any public improvements and utilities. Where I'm going with this conversation, is it really that necessary if I'm on a 5-acre piece and I want to build a shop that might be bigger than the 2,000, if I want to have an improvement that might be bigger than 2,000 square feet. So if I want to build a house with a detached garage, guarantee you trigger it. If I want to build a garage but my driveway is somewhat long, guarantee you trigger it. I'm out in the country. Do these requirements, are they really necessary for what I'm doing? Here's the deal. Not a damn thing we can do about it. It's already out there. It's already in the Department of Ecology's manual, and they're pushing it from the state level down to your county and soon to your local city. These are the kind of things that you really need to wake up to when you're looking at voting. Okay? Either party. These are the things that bother me as not only a surveyor, as a builder, as a developer, but in today's world as a mortgage guy just trying to help people buy a home. Okay? At the end of the next 12 months, this little interpretation of this new Department of Ecology requirement is going to go anywhere from a $15,000 to a $30,000 impact on people's ability to buy. That hits all of us. Okay? We are already in an area that inflates somewhere around 8 to 12% a year, depending on the year. Forget Armageddon. These are the kind of things that make it hard for our kids to be able to buy anywhere in the Puget Sound region. So, when you're looking at life and you're looking at things like this, and people talk about there's a new code coming down, or a new builder fee, or something else coming around the corner, pay attention. Builders don't pay mitigation fees, just for the record. Developers do not pay mitigation fees, just for the record. Builders do not pay for this. They are in business. They are in business to make a profit. Once they make their profit, they sell. Okay? I've kind of got that backwards. But they're in business to make a profit. They have a margin they need to meet. They're a market-based economy. They're not going to rob anybody. It's all based on the same thing as everybody else in business. Whether you're building a widget, you're selling a product, you're selling a house, it's the same thing. They don't pay these fees. You and I pay them in increased taxes. We pay them with our kids not being able to buy anywhere near us. We pay them in the cost of housing. We pay them with the homelessness issue. We pay them with the poverty issue. Because when you have barriers to home ownership like this that artificially inflate our market, how do you get past it? You can't reel stuff like this back. It doesn't go in reverse. Anyway, I'm off my rant. Dave Gardner, New American Funding, license number 1005124 for federal regulation requirements. I hope you have a nice day.